What if I told you that millions of dollars meant for Zambia's development never stayed in Zambia? What if I told you that former President Edgar Lungu's name is now being whispered in the same circles as billionaires, offshore bankers, and global power brokers? From secret bank accounts in Switzerland to luxury properties hidden under shell companies in Dubai. This story is more than just politics. It's a global scandal that could shake Africa's future. And here's the twist. The people pulling the strings may not even be in Africa at all. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could change the way you see power forever. In this explosive investigation, we uncover shocking allegations linking Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu to a multi-million-dollar offshore corruption scandal. From hidden bank accounts in Switzerland to shell companies in Dubai and London, this is not just a Zambian story. It's a global financial web stretching from Africa to the UK, USA, and beyond. Magnifying glass tilted left, what you'll learn in this video: how offshore accounts work and why politicians use them. Alleged secret deals connected to Zambia's political elite. The global network of banks, law firms, and power brokers. Why US and UK authorities are quietly watching this case. This documentary-style analysis is based on verified reports, credible sources, and expert interviews. It is for educational and journalistic purposes. The allegations surrounding former Zambian President Edgar Lungu and his purported offshore wealth have ignited a firestorm of controversy, both within Zambia and on the global stage. Reports of hidden offshore accounts, luxury properties, and suspicious financial transactions have painted a picture of systemic corruption tied to one of Africa's prominent political figures. These allegations, brought to light through investigative journalism and leaked documents such as the Swazi secrets, have implicated Lungu, his family, and close associates in a complex web of financial dealings spanning multiple continents. The scandal has raised critical questions about how wealth is concealed, the role of international financial hubs like Dubai and Switzerland, the interest of Western authorities, and the broader implications for governance and politics in Africa. This response will dissect each question posed, providing a detailed analysis supported by available information, while critically examining the narratives and their broader context. $millions that vanished. Overview of the allegations. The allegations against Edgar Lungu center on claims that millions of dollars, potentially amassed through corrupt practices during his presidency 2015 to 2021, have been funneled into offshore accounts and assets. These claims emerged prominently after Lungu lost the 2021 Zambian presidential election to Hakainde Hichilema, who campaigned on a platform of combating corruption and restoring economic stability. Investigative reports, including those from Zimwaves TV and the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ, have pointed to a trail of financial transactions involving offshore trusts, luxury properties, and bank accounts in jurisdictions known for their financial secrecy. Key details of the vanished millions. Leaked documents and investigations. A confidential memo from the Zambian Financial Intelligence Center, ZFIC, to the Eswatini Financial Intelligence Unit, EFIU, dated August 2019 but sent in December 2021, alleged that Lungu had accumulated wealth through corrupt activities. The memo, part of the Swazi secrets leak, highlighted suspicious transactions linked to Lungu and Zambian Swazi construction magnate Michelo Shikantu. It suggested that Lungu benefited from bribes in the form of land and monetary gifts, including a plot at the Nkonyeni Gulf Estate in Eswatini. Asset forfeiture in Zambia. The Zambian Economic and Financial Crimes Court, EFCC, has ordered the forfeiture of significant assets linked to Lungu's associates and family. For instance, assets worth over $80 million, approximately $4 million US, belonging to Emmanuel Magala, a suspected proxy of Lungu, were seized due to their association with alleged criminal activities. Similarly, 15 double-story flats valued at $66 million, owned by former First Lady Esther Lungu, were declared tainted and forfeited to the state. Scale of the wealth. Reports suggest that Lungu and his associates moved millions through jurisdictions like Mauritius, Botswana, Dubai, and South Africa. Properties in Durban North, Blue Valley Gulf Estate, and Eswatini, along with cash transfers, indicate a sophisticated operation to obscure the origins of the wealth. The Zimwaves TV investigation claimed that Lungu's medical trips abroad were a cover for managing these offshore assets. How did the money vanish? The term vanished refers to the difficulty in tracing funds that have been moved through opaque financial systems. Offshore accounts, shell companies, and trusts are designed to obscure ownership and protect assets from scrutiny. In Lungu's case, the allegations suggest shell companies and proxies. Individuals like Michelo Shikantu and Emmanuel Magala are accused of acting as proxies, holding assets or shares on Lungu's behalf. For example, Shikantu allegedly purchased a plot for Lungu in Eswatini and held shares in Swazi Mobile, a telecom company. Layered transactions. Funds were reportedly routed through multiple jurisdictions to create a complex trail. For instance, money moved through Mauritius and Botswana before landing in Dubai or South African trust accounts, making it harder for investigators to trace. Delayed investigations. The ZFIC memo, drafted in 2019 but sent only in 2021 after Lungu's electoral loss, suggests political interference may have delayed efforts to track the funds while he was in power. This delay allowed the money to be further obscured. Challenges in tracing tracing the funds. Tracing vanished millions is inherently difficult due to jurisdictional barriers. Countries like Dubai and Switzerland have strict privacy laws, making it challenging for foreign investigators to access account details. Lack of transparency. Offshore entities often use nominee directors or anonymous trusts, hiding the true beneficiaries. Political influence. Allegations of interference in Zambia's investigative bodies during Lungu's tenure suggest that efforts to uncover the wealth were stymied. Critical perspective. While the allegations are serious, it's worth noting that Lungu has denied owning certain assets, such as the Eswatini property, claiming it was a gift from King Mswati III that he declined due to public outcry. The lack of convictions in some cases, such as the acquittal of Lungu's former advisor Haibin Mwinga and his family, raises questions about the strength of evidence in some allegations. The narrative of vanished millions may also be amplified by political motivations, as Hichilema's administration has prioritized anti-corruption efforts, potentially targeting political rivals. Edgar Lungu's offshore allegations. Nature of the allegations. Edgar Lungu, Zambia's president from 2015 to 2021, faces accusations of leveraging his position to amass wealth through corrupt means. The allegations include bribery and kickbacks. Lungu is accused of receiving bribes in the form of land, cash, and shares from business associates like Michelo Shikantu, whose company, Inyatsi Road Construction, secured lucrative contracts in Zambia. Offshore asset accumulation. Reports point to properties and accounts in Dubai, Switzerland, South Africa, and Eswatini, allegedly funded by illicit proceeds. These include luxury villas, Gulf estate plots, and cash in trust accounts. Abuse of office. Lungu is accused of pressuring institutions like the Zambia Army to facilitate corrupt deals. For instance, Zimai reported allegations that Lungu pressured the Zambia Army commander to engage in corrupt activities. Family involvement. Lungu's wife, Esther, son, and daughter-in-law have been arrested or implicated in corruption cases, with assets like Esther's K66 million flats and other properties seized as proceeds of crime. Key evidence. Swazi Secrets leak. The Swazi Secrets investigation, based on over 890,000 leaked documents from the EFIU, revealed suspicious transactions involving Lungu and Shikantu. The EFIU flagged unusual and suspicious activities in Shikantu's bank accounts, suspected to benefit Lungu. ZFIC memo. The 2019 memo, sent in 2021, explicitly accused Lungu of accumulating wealth corruptly, citing the Nkonyeni Gulf estate plot as a bribe. Court rulings. The forfeiture of assets linked to Lungu's proxies, such as Emmanuel Mugala's K80 million in properties and Esther Lungu's flats, supports claims of illicit wealth accumulation. IMF report. A 2022 IMF study highlighted governance weaknesses under Lungu's administration, noting that contracts for infrastructure projects were inflated by up to 200%, with excess funds allegedly funneled to Lungu supporters. Lungu's defense. Lungu and his allies have consistently denied the allegations. Eswatini property. Lungu claimed the Nkonyeni plot was a diplomatic gift from King Mswati III, which he declined after public backlash in 2018. Political vendetta. The Patriotic Front (PF), Lungu's party, has dismissed the allegations as malicious, arguing that Hichilema's administration is targeting political opponents. PF spokesperson Raphael Nakachinda emphasized that procurement processes under Lungu were transparent. Lack of convictions. The acquittal of individuals like Haibin Mwinga and a businessman accused of being Lungu's proxy suggests that some allegations may lack sufficient evidence. Critical analysis. The allegations against Lungu fit a broader pattern of accusations against African leaders, where offshore accounts and proxies are used to obscure wealth. However, the timing of investigations, often intensifying after Lungu's electoral loss, raises questions about political motivations. The Swazi Secrets documents provide compelling evidence, but their reliance on suspicions rather than conclusive proof leaves room for skepticism. Moreover, Lungu's denials and the acquittals in some cases highlight the challenge of distinguishing between legitimate wealth, diplomatic gifts, and illicit gains. How offshore accounts hide wealth. Understanding offshore accounts. Offshore accounts are bank accounts or financial structures held in jurisdictions outside the account holder's country of residence, often in places with low taxes, strict privacy laws, or lax regulations. These accounts are not inherently illegal, but are frequently used to conceal wealth, evade taxes, or launder money. Mechanisms for hiding wealth. Shell companies. Definition. Shell companies are entities with no significant operations or assets, often registered in tax havens like the British Virgin Islands, Panama, or Mauritius. They exist primarily to hold funds or assets. Application in Lungu's case. Allegations suggest Lungu's associates like Michelo Shikantu used shell companies to hold properties or shares on his behalf. For example, the Nkonyeni plot was reportedly held by a Shikantu-owned company, obscuring Lungu's connection. How it hides wealth. Shell companies obscure the true owner through layers of nominees or trusts, making it difficult to trace funds back to individuals like Lungu. Trusts. Definition. Trusts are legal arrangements where a trustee holds assets for a beneficiary. They are often used in offshore jurisdictions to maintain anonymity. Application. Reports indicate that millions were routed through trust accounts in South Africa, potentially shielding Lungu's wealth from Zambian Zambian authorities. How it hides wealth. Trusts can list beneficiaries anonymously, and the trustee manages the assets, distancing the beneficiary from direct ownership. Layered transactions. Definition. Funds are moved through multiple accounts or jurisdictions to create a complex trail that is hard to follow. Application. Lungu's alleged wealth was reportedly moved through Mauritius, Botswana, and Dubai, with each transfer adding a layer of opacity. How it hides wealth. Each jurisdiction has different reporting requirements, and the chain of transactions makes it challenging to trace the origin or destination of funds. Tax havens and secrecy jurisdictions. Definition. Countries like Switzerland, Dubai, and the Cayman Islands offer low or no taxes and strict confidentiality laws. Application. Allegations point to accounts in Dubai and Switzerland, known for their banking secrecy, as repositories for Lungu's wealth. How it hides wealth. These jurisdictions limit information sharing with foreign governments, protecting account holders from scrutiny. Nominee directors and shareholders. Definition. Nominees are individuals or entities listed as owners of companies or accounts to conceal the true beneficiary. Application. Emmanuel Magala and others are accused of acting as proxies for Lungu, holding assets in their names to shield him. How it hides wealth. Nominees create a legal separation between the asset and the true owner, complicating investigations. Challenges for authorities. Banking secrecy. Jurisdictions like Switzerland historically resisted sharing financial information, though reforms like the OECD's Common Reporting Standard have increased transparency. Resource constraints. Agencies like Zambia's ZFIC often lack the resources or international cooperation needed to investigate complex offshore schemes. Political interference. As seen in the delayed ZFIC memo, political pressures can hinder timely investigations. Broader context. Offshore accounts are a global phenomenon used by elites across industries to protect wealth. The Panama Papers and Paradise Papers exposed similar practices by politicians, celebrities, and corporations. In Lungu's case, the use of offshore mechanisms aligns with a pattern where African leaders exploit global financial systems to safeguard illicit gains, often at the expense of their country's development. The Dubai and Switzerland connection. Why Dubai and Switzerland? Dubai and Switzerland are premier destinations for offshore wealth due to their financial systems, which prioritize privacy, stability, and minimal regulation. Dubai. Free zones. Dubai's free zones, like the Dubai International Financial Center (DIFC), offer tax exemptions and minimal oversight, making it easy to set up shell companies. Real estate. Dubai's property market is a magnet for laundering money, as it allows anonymous purchases through trusts or companies. Secrecy. The UAE has historically resisted international pressure to share financial data, though recent reforms have introduced some transparency. Connection to Lungu. Reports suggest Lungu's wife may have ties to a Dubai home, and funds were allegedly moved through Dubai accounts. Switzerland. Banking secrecy. Switzerland's centuries-old tradition of banking confidentiality has made it a haven for hidden wealth, though reforms have weakened this shield. Wealth management. Swiss banks offer sophisticated services for managing trusts and offshore entities. Connection to Lungu. Allegations of Swiss accounts holding Lungu's wealth surfaced in investigative reports, though specific details are sparse. Evidence of connections. Zimwave's TV investigation. The report claimed Lungu used medical trips to manage offshore assets, with Dubai as a key hub for real estate and financial transactions. Swazi secrets. While not directly mentioning Switzerland, the leaked documents highlight a global network of transactions, with Switzerland's reputation making it a plausible destination for Lungu's funds. Kaswi investigations. Allegations suggest Lungu and his wife plan to move funds from offshore accounts, including in Dubai, back to Zambia for political purposes. Challenges in investigating. Dubai's opacity. The UAE's reluctance to share financial data complicates investigations. Even with international pressure, free zones remain largely unregulated. Swiss reforms. While Switzerland has adopted measures like the Automatic Exchange of Information, AEOI, it still protects client confidentiality unless specific evidence of criminality is provided. Zambian limitations. Zambia's investigative agencies lack the jurisdiction and resources to probe accounts in these countries effectively. Critical perspective. The focus on Dubai and Switzerland may reflect their notoriety as financial havens, but concrete evidence linking Lungu to specific accounts in these jurisdictions is limited in public reports. The allegations rely heavily on investigative journalism and leaks, which, while credible, are not always conclusive. The mention of Dubai and Switzerland may also serve to amplify the scandal's global dimension, as these jurisdictions are synonymous with hidden wealth. Why UK and US authorities are concerned. Global anti-corruption efforts. The UK and US have intensified efforts to combat global corruption, particularly when it involves their financial systems or affects their geopolitical interests. UK anti-money laundering laws. The UK's Criminal Finances Act 2017 allows authorities to seize assets suspected of being proceeds of crime through unexplained wealth orders, UWOs. London as a financial hub. London's property market and financial institutions are often used to launder money, prompting scrutiny of foreign elites like Lungu. Zambia's ties. As a former British colony, Zambia's political and economic stability is of interest to the UK, especially given its role in regional copper production. U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act (FCPA). The U.S. prosecutes corruption involving American companies or financial systems, even abroad. Sanctions and asset freezes. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control (OFAC) can target individuals involved in corruption, as seen in cases like Zimbabwe's Robert Mugabe. Geopolitical interests. The U.S. monitors African governance to counter Chinese and Russian influence, making Zambia's stability a priority. Specific concerns. Money laundering risks. Funds from Lungu's alleged corruption could have passed through UK or US banks, raising red flags under anti-money laundering regulations. For example, transactions involving US dollars often go through American financial institutions, triggering scrutiny. Regional stability. Corruption scandals in Zambia could destabilize the region, affecting Western investments in mining and infrastructure. The IMF's $1.3 billion support to Zambia under Hichilema underscores this interest. Diplomatic pressure. The UK and US have supported Zambia's anti-corruption efforts, with Western donors freezing aid in the past due to graft concerns. A 2021 case involving a Zambian minister led to aid freezes, highlighting their sensitivity to corruption. Swazi Secrets implications. The Swazi Secrets leak, involving international partners like the ICIJ, likely drew attention from UK and US authorities as it exposed cross-border financial flows potentially touching their jurisdictions. Actions taken. While specific actions by UK or US authorities against Lungu are not detailed in the provided sources, their concern likely manifests through cooperation with Zambia, sharing intelligence with the ZFIC or ACC to track offshore assets, financial monitoring, screening transactions involving Zambian elites through global banking systems, pressure on tax havens, advocating for greater transparency in jurisdictions like Dubai and Switzerland. Critical analysis. The interest of UK and US authorities may be overstated in some narratives, as no direct evidence links them to specific actions against Lungu. Their concern likely stems from broader anti-corruption frameworks rather than targeted investigations. However, Zambia's strategic importance and the global nature of the Swazi Secrets leak make their involvement plausible, particularly in supporting Zambia's efforts to recover stolen assets. The global impact on African politics. Broader implications. The Lungu scandal is not an isolated case, but part of a recurring pattern in African politics, where leaders are accused of siphoning public funds into offshore accounts. This has profound implications. Erosion of trust. Corruption scandals undermine public confidence in governance, fueling discontent and protests. In Zambia, Lungu's loss in 2021 was partly due to perceptions of corruption and economic mismanagement. Economic consequences. Illicit financial flows drain resources from African economies. The World Bank notes that 2/3 of Zambians live on less than $2 a day, exacerbated by corruption that diverts funds from social services. Regional precedent. Successful asset forfeitures in Zambia could inspire similar actions in countries like Zimbabwe or South Africa, where corruption is rampant. International pressure. The involvement of global bodies like the IMF and ICIJ increases scrutiny on African leaders, pushing for reforms but also raising questions about sovereignty and external interference. Zambia's role. Zambia's anti-corruption efforts under Hichilema, including the establishment of fast-track financial crimes courts, set a model for accountability. However, critics argue that selective prosecutions targeting Lungu's allies could undermine judicial impartiality. Global context. The scandal reflects a global kleptocracy where African leaders exploit international financial systems. The Panama Papers and Pandora Papers exposed similar practices by leaders in Kenya, Nigeria, and Angola, highlighting the need for international cooperation to curb illicit flows. Critical perspective. While the scandal exposes systemic issues, it also risks being weaponized for political gain. Hichilema's aggressive anti-corruption stance may strengthen his domestic and international standing, but could alienate opposition supporters, deepening political divisions. The global focus on African corruption can also perpetuate stereotypes, overshadowing legitimate governance efforts. Final thoughts and public reaction. Final thoughts. The allegations against Edgar Lungu highlight the pervasive challenge of corruption in African politics and the complicity of global financial systems in enabling it. The evidence, leaked memos, asset forfeitures, and investigative reports suggests a sophisticated scheme to hide wealth, but the lack of convictions in some cases and Lungu's denials call for cautious interpretation. The scandal underscores the need for stronger international cooperation to combat illicit financial flows, as well as domestic reforms to ensure impartial justice. Public reaction. Zambian public. The forfeiture of assets and arrests of Lungu's family have polarized opinions. Supporters of Hichilema view these actions as a victory against corruption, while Lungu's base sees them as a political witch hunt. Social media platforms like X reflect this divide, with some praising the EFCC's rulings and others questioning their fairness. Media and activists. Zambian media, such as Lusaka Times and Zambia Monitor, have extensively covered the scandal, framing it as a test of Hichilema's anti-corruption agenda. Activists like Ruben Lefuka advocate for transparency, but warn against misuse of power. International community. The IMF and Western donors have supported Zambia's anti-corruption efforts, but there's skepticism about the politicization of justice. The Swazi Secrets investigation has amplified global interest, with outlets like VOA and Arab News highlighting Zambia's challenges. Critical perspective. Public reaction is shaped by Zambia's polarized political landscape. While the allegations resonate with those frustrated by economic hardship, the lack of conclusive evidence in some cases fuels skepticism. The global attention to the scandal risks oversimplifying Zambia's challenges, ignoring structural issues like poverty and debt. Conclusion. The Edgar Lungu offshore wealth scandal encapsulates the complexities of corruption in African politics, the role of global financial systems in enabling it, and the challenges of achieving justice in a polarized environment. The vanished millions highlight the sophistication of offshore schemes, while the allegations against Lungu and his associates underscore the need for robust investigations. Dubai and Switzerland's involvement reflects their status as secrecy havens, and the interest of UK and US authorities signals a broader push against global corruption. The scandal's impact on African politics emphasizes the urgency of addressing illicit financial flows, but political motivations and incomplete evidence complicate the narrative. Public reactions reflect Zambia's divided society, with hope for accountability tempered by concerns of vendettas. Ultimately, the Lungu case is a call to action for stronger governance, international cooperation, and equitable justice.